Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how I drew the portrait of Jasper. Now for this one I had a really bad reference photo. This particular dog really did not want to have his photo taken, and it was quite difficult to get a reference photo with the ears perking up like the client wanted. So I had to settle for a really bad photo. Now, I definitely don't recommend having a photo as bad as this. I was able to get the detail I needed by using different photos in combination, but it was quite difficult to get the portrait looking the way that I wanted it to look at the level of detail that I usually do in my portraits because the reference photo was so bad. I started the portrait by putting down a little bit of white luminance on the highlights and then sketching out the eye with the black Polychromos pencil. I then used terracotta, sanguine and caput mortuum as the browns in the eye and blended that all out. I've then just built up the black around the eye and put a little bit more of the white luminance pencil over the shine on the eye. Now I've just started building up all the fur layers there, and it's just a process of putting the layers down with a light hand, don't press too hard. And I've gone with black, and then I've used a luminance pencil which is ochre brown 10%, and also the sanguine and terracotta for the browner areas. I've then also gone over the top of that with a white luminance pencil because the fur for this dog has a lot of white speckles in it, and there's a lot of white furs next to the coloured furs, so to get that effect I needed to add the white fur with the pencil, with the white luminance pencil. Now working over the ear at the moment, I really couldn't see what was happening on the reference photo with this ear, so at this point I've blocked it in and started doing fur detail, trying to figure out what was happening in the reference photo. I ended up having to change it later because the ears just did not look right, and I worked out later that they actually had a little fold in them that I couldn't see in the photo, and so I added that in later. I'm just adding the layers on the fur on the other side of the head, and just using the same colours, and I used a little bit of grey as well, and just adding those colours in. And when I blend it, I use an odourless solvent on a tack 1 filbert brush, and I use only the slightest amount on the brush when I blend it out. Now watch the direction of the fur strokes. When you have a good reference photo, you can see where the fur is going, so definitely pay attention to that to make sure that the fur is going in the right direction. Otherwise it'll look weird, especially around the eyes and the nose. It's not always apparent where the fur is going. As you can see, I'm using the brown ochre 10% as the base colour for the dog because he's quite tanned across the face. He is white elsewhere, so I stopped using that pencil on the chest area where he's got white fur. Just using the black and the greys to get in the snout area, and just paying attention to the shapes that you see with the nose in particular to get those nostrils in the right shape. They're kind of a funny shape, so make sure you pay attention to your reference photo. Now just sketching in the collar. I found the collar was quite hard to see in the photo, so it was a bit of a guess as to what was going on. I did have some other photos of it that I could compare to, luckily. Just trying to get that white over the top of the grey made the buckle part nice and shiny. And used blues in that, which were middle phthalo blue and cobalt turquoise, and a little bit of helio blue reddish. And just onto the chest area, which is nice white fur, and though not much of it is white because he is quite in the shadow, so I've used a lot of different greys. I've used warm grey 1, 2, 3 and 4, along with black to darken that even further in the areas that need it. And pay attention to where the fur is going. It changes direction a lot on the chest as well. And just keep your strokes short for this sort of fur. It can be a little bit longer in this section than it was on the face, your pencil strokes, because the fur is a little bit longer here, so you can get away with the longer pencil strokes. But don't do really long ones because it'll make the fur look way too long. Just a matter of building up that texture of the fur with the different layers of pencil strokes. I'm just adding in the fur around the neck and then going over with more detail on the fur. As you can see, the ears are quite different now from what they were when I originally drew them, and that's because I had to look at a lot of different photos to try and figure out what those ears were doing. The reference photo was really bad. You couldn't see them at all. But definitely use a much better reference photo, and it'll make your work doing a portrait a lot easier. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.